Look at this beautiful hydrangea bloom. I have not met anyone who doesn't like hydrangea blooms. Their beauty is undeniable. I fell in love with the blooms right away when a friend introduced a plant to me years ago. The blue blooms I saw were like out of a dream. Today I will compare and contrast two different species of hydrangeas. If you are new to gardening, I hope this video will provide some good information for you before you make your first hydrangea purchase or after your first purchase. And if you have been gardening for a while, I hope this video would still be helpful. Actually, peak hydrangea season has ended, so the blooms I'm sharing today may not look their best. The two species being discussed today, one blooms in the spring and the other one in the summer. It was my intention to wait until both had passed their peak so you could see what they would look like not at their best. However, one is a reblooming species, so there are a few fresh-looking bloom heads like the very first one you saw. All right, let's go ahead and start with a comparison of the Hydrangea Macrophylla versus the Hydrangea Paniculata. This hydrangea right here, the Macrophylla, is part of the Endless series hydrangea, and this is Little Lime hydrangea right here. So first, let's start off with the shape of the blooms. So the Macrophylla, also called mobhead hydrangea, as you can see, it's circular in shape. And then with the Paniculata, it's cone-like in shape. So you can see there, side by side like this, and also like this. And they come in various sizes. It just depends on your soil and other factors as well. With gardening, there's just a lot of different factors resulting in like different size blooms and things like that. So it's just pretty subjective, depends on where you are. You have small size, medium size, and larger size. These are the largest ones that I have that I can tell this year. So happy about that. Now let's talk about the colors of each. So with the Macrophylla, they come in various colors. You have blue, pink, purple, which is a combination of the pink and the blue together, and different variations depending on how they kind of mix together. So as you can see here, I have pink, which I have seen during its growing season. This started off as pink right here, and here is just one bloom, and that can happen too. I have blue right here, and then kind of pinkish or lavender right there. Look how beautiful that is. You have yellow and pink, kind of like lavender together right there. So that's really cool. All right, so with the Paniculata, they typically start off with lime green and then fade to pink. So this is towards like the end of the pink stage. And then it goes to this tan color, and eventually it will turn brown, and you can hear that papery texture of the blooms there. And then after this, you get a strong wind, or later on, they might just degrade. Based on the hydrangeas that I have here, whether it's Macrophylla or the Paniculata, they start off lime green, and then they turn to what they're supposed to turn to, and it's pH dependent with the Macrophylla. So depending on your pH, the lower the pH or the more acidic your soil is, the more blue it is. And you can think about on the other end, the more alkaline or more basic it is, you'll get more of that pink reddish color. And then also too, with the Macrophylla, I've seen white ones. Typically, the one that I had, the white one, it doesn't change to any other color. So keep that in mind. So if you have a Hydrangea Macrophylla and it's white in color, more likely it will not turn to any other colors. With the Paniculata, they start off with lime green as well, and then they turn pink, and it's not pH dependent. So that's what you should note, that Paniculata is not pH dependent, but the Macrophylla is pH dependent. And if you get a white Hydrangea Macrophylla, more likely it will not turn into a different color. So now let's move on to the foliage. So with the Macrophylla, it's also called big leaf hydrangea. It's susceptible to leaf spots. These are fungus spots, and it's not anything that you are doing. Typically, if you live in the South like I do, where historically we get more rainfall, more humidity, more heat, all that combination together will lead to leaf spots. Now this year we have been on the drier side. You can see that there are leaf spots here, but not as many as the worst year that I could think of would be like maybe a couple years ago, when we got lots of rain and the leaves were horrible looking. Now let's look at the Paniculata foliage. So the leaves are smaller, and as you can see, I have some leaf spots right here, but overall not as many as the Macrophylla. And it's not as noticeable, I think, simply because the leaves are not as big. So just looking at these, the leaf spots are not as many as you have with the Macrophylla. And what I also noticed, that the Macrophylla, although it has leaf spots, I don't notice any insect damage like this right here. This is the Paniculata, and this year I've noticed that there's some leaf damage by some biting insects right here. So just from my experience, from what I know about how you can get leaf spots, I would think that people up north, where they don't get a lot of heat, humidity, and rainfall like we do here, I think their foliage health, or the health of the foliage with the Macrophylla, I think they would look so much better. And I would say the same thing with the Paniculata. The leaves would be a lot more healthier than if they were to be in the South. All right, finally, let's talk about the guaranteeing of blooms season after season with both kinds of hydrangeas. So with the Macrophylla, it is winter dependent. And the reason that is, it's because it blooms on old wood. So if you had a harsh winter, it's a possibility you will get fewer blooms, or no blooms at all. With the Paniculatas, it's not winter dependent, and the reason that is because it blooms on new wood. So let's go over some of the important points of these two hydrangeas. So with the Macrophylla, the colors are pH dependent except for white. And then also it is cold dependent because it blooms on old wood. And then also it is susceptible to leaf spots if you live in an environment where you get regular rainfall, regular moisture, and regular heat, especially during the summer. So with the Paniculata, it is not cold dependent because it blooms on new wood, and it's not pH dependent either. The colors that you're gonna get pretty much is everywhere, whether you live up north or down south. So when I say colors, I just mean that it starts off with lime green, and then it fades to pink. Now, if it gets too hot, like here, we might not get pink at all. It might just go from lime green, and then it goes to more of like an off-white color, and finally it fades to brown. But luckily this year, we got some pink, which is really nice. Like if you live up north, I think they get more of that vibrant pink color. So I'm thankful that I get pink. And then also too, people up north might get more of that pink color for a longer period of time, versus here, our pink stage might just be very short. And then the foliage smaller, and they are less susceptible to leaf spots. All right, in conclusion, based on the information mentioned, which hydrangeas would you prefer? The mobhead hydrangeas, the Macrophylla, or the Paniculata? Of course, you know, there are pros and cons to both of these. In my case, because I care about the foliage health as much as the color of the blooms, and sometimes I would say I even care more about the foliage a little more than the color of the blooms. So because of that, I ended up getting rid of all the Macrophylla, Hydrangea Macrophylla plants, except for the two that I have right now. And the reason for that is just because I actually forgot about the two after removing, I would say, more than 5 of them, and they were like huge. So you can see that, you know, I totally forgot about these two. So anyway, I decided to let them be and see if I could keep them a lot healthier. Other than the foliage, you cannot beat the colors of the Macrophyllas. They are just so beautiful. The only disadvantage again for me is the leaf spots. Now with that being said, I do prefer the Paniculatas a lot better because they are more reliable, because they are not cold dependent versus the Macrophyllas. And even though they, you know, get the colors that they get, I prefer that better, knowing that the leaves as a whole are a lot healthier looking than the Macrophyllas. I would say the this year the foliage is not as good as I expected them to be. So we'll see about next year. So if you live in the South like me and you don't care too much about what the foliage looks like, then I would recommend getting both of these. But just know that if you do have a harsh winter, you might not get as many blooms, or if not at all, on the Macrophyllas. But if you live up north, you are so lucky because you might not have the leaf spots like we do here in the South. And then also too, I know you get snow, so I don't know if the snow is helping to protect the buds a lot better. I'm not sure. Or you are susceptible to you know, cold weather risk on the buds as well for the Macrophyllas. That would be good for me to know. So with that, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it enjoyable and helpful. And until my next video, take care and bye for now.